be working fine for you?
Yeah, that's it. Recording now.
Okay, all ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast. We've done our forwards, we've done our backs for the Lions. Now we're going to do our starting 15 and our bench. I'm here with Kyle once again. We're getting into this one. We want to hear your team in the comments down below. Do you agree with us? I've had many people say I'm being biased. I'm wearing a Scotland shirt today and I'm Welsh, so how can I be biased? That's all I can say. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Yeah, fine. Good choice of clothing today. I see we've both gone for similar attire in terms of the nations we're putting on show in this video right now. But yeah, so we're not showing any bias at all. I'm certainly not
at all.
But yeah, it might feel like a consolation prize considering there's I think of both of ours there's a few Scots. I've only got 3 in my starting lineup, and you've got 1 and I think 1 on the bench as well. We'll get in. Should we just dive into it then?
Let's do it.
Starting from the backs.
Absolutely.
Go for the back. Or do you, start from the backs. We'll go with the back 3, 2 wingers and full back. Who have you gone for?
Well, I've gone for the one Scotsman in my starting team is Stuart Hogg, and you know we mentioned this in the backs video. I just think he's the most complete fullback in the British and Irish islands at the minute.
Yeah.
England, you have to be honest, are really struggling in that position. They got George Furbank, is his name in the Six Nations. They obviously had Mike Brown previously, but he's now not there.
Yeah.
Ireland then are working with Jordan Lama, who looks like a really exciting player, but is he ready for Lions?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, you just don't like Elliot Daly, do you?
No, I rate Elliot Daly. I absolutely rate him. But I just think that Hogg is better. That's the truth of it. It's like, you know, if you're playing in any team, you want the best players on your team, so you have the best chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I want for the Lions. It's not me being biased and not liking him because he's English.
That's fair enough.
It's because Stuart Hogg is better. You know, we've seen that if you kick the ball to him and give him time to run, he's going to punish you. He really is going to punish you. He will run back at your defence. Other names that maybe deserve a mention here, maybe someone like Lee Halfpenny, but I just don't think he offers the same level as Hogg. So Hogg is my fullback.
Yeah, some worthy names. I think. I would go with Jordan Larmour, who was unlucky to miss our 2 initial squad. I know there's some in the comments who disagree with our opinions there, and that's absolutely fine. We've gone for Liam Williams, also a good option. I think we've gone for him on our benches. He would be similar to Hogg as a player in many ways. Liam Williams, although I think he's a little bit slower in terms of pace, but not that he's not quick, but I think he's a little bit slower in that department. But on the whole, I think just Hogg has the edge there. So we're in agreement there. Wingers, I went with 2 prolific try scorers. Could be argued about the balance of a team here, but I've gone for Johnny May on the right wing and Josh Adams on the left.
Absolutely agree with you, mate. Johnny May, speedster, shows that. I think the beauty about these 2 wingers is Johnny May can score from anywhere on the pitch. He's shown that over the years. He's able to, you know, he can go around the outside and score from the halfway line or just outside the 22. What I think Josh Adams is so good at is his finishing from close range. That's why I think he's at his best. He can score from 15, 20 metres out and he will get in that corner. We saw that at the World Cup. We saw that a little bit in this year's Six Nations as well, and last Six Nations, where he was getting in the corner, he was just about reaching it. But his speed and his one little step or his strength, I think he's very underrated for his strength as well. That he gets into those try-scoring options. So I think both of them are really good options. Defensively, maybe not the best options, but going forward, I think that they, you know, really complement each other there. And I would be terrified to have Johnny May running on the outside of me. If I was a South African prop and I saw Johnny May running past me, I ain't stopping him, basically. So Johnny May, absolutely. Josh Adams as well. And I think both of them are quick enough to deal with Cheslin and Colby. Let's hope so.
Well, you got obviously Josh Adams up against him. I think one of the things I've said before to you impressed me about Josh Adams is his will to look for work, not just in the try scoring department. He gets himself around the pitch. He's always looking for work. Defensively, I think he's pretty solid. Under the high balls, he's had plenty of matches where a few high balls have gone in his direction. He's handled them very solidly. I think defensively, there could be an argument, especially on the right wing. You could argue maybe Anthony Watson would be a bit more solid in that department in terms of under high balls and sort of man marking, and maybe a bit more than Johnny May. He's maybe a bit better there, but I think apart from that game against France, the Six Nations, Johnny May's defence has come on leaps and bounds in the past few years, as well as being a lethal finisher. So I think it's so that's why I go for him. And you've got two players there that if you can give them the ball and a bit of space, they can do something with it and can damage the defence. Similar, of course, to Cheslin Colby, who would be injury depending, of course, on the other side. And for the box, so I think it's you've got a decent balance there, but I understand why if like an Anthony Watson or someone like a Johnny McNichol who you had in your squad, that kind of player was on one wing, and then you've got Adams and May fighting out for the left wing spot. I mean, but I think we'll agree we're both going for them as our wingers, left and right.
Definitely. One of the things to say about Johnny May, I think it's really interesting what you said about his defence developing, because a couple of, not more than that, maybe like 6-7 years ago, maybe people would have questioned his decision making. Why was he doing things? Maybe he didn't have his game like management on. But I think that's come on leaps and bounds. I think he's a really intelligent player now. I don't think that he just gets the ball and just runs anymore. I think he really knows what he's doing. He gets involved in the right places, picks brilliant lines, comes inside sometimes, offers different options, and he's really, really developed in that point. Should we move on to the centres? Centres? Yes,
gone for big bruisers here. One could argue that this is they're two very similar type of players. One of them obviously a bit bulkier than the other. You know which ones I'm speaking about. Manu Tuolangi.
Me.
I've gone for Manu Tuolangi at 12. I think he's shown his best days for in my opinion, some of his best games for England in last year's Six Nations, not this year's ones. Obviously, were at 12
against Ireland. Against Ireland, he was insane, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean that was probably the best defensive performance I've ever seen from him. Also the Jonathan Davis at 13. I think it seems an obvious choice. I personally had. I know you didn't, because obviously John the Fox, legend with Welsh rugby, etc. But I had a bit of a conflict of picking either Henry Slade or Jonathan Davis in this, because I thought Slade might be a bit of better balance alongside Tuolangi, because he offers a little bit more variety with his passing that. But I think with Davis's defence and his left peg, I know Slade's got a left peg as well, the way they can sort of get the ball downfield, and I think with Davis's, like I said, his defence and his direct running, you could argue, I think he's improved a lot in his passing game in the last few years as well. I think with his experience, I think you just got to give the edge to Davis there.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, mate. I do think, though, Henry Slade definitely deserves a mention. I wasn't as close as you were to picking him, but he's a quality player and definitely someone that could be on the bench, although saying that, I haven't put him on my bench. So.
Yeah, me neither. It was a tight call there.
But he's a quality player. It's the same as Elliot Daly, probably comfortable playing a few positions. But I just think that Jonathan Davis is world class, and you've got to pick the best players. And that's what you're going to see throughout this team is I've gone with who I think are the best, but I haven't thought about who would work best together necessarily. I've really just gone best players we can put on that pitch, because that will come then. They can work together over the weeks leading up to the tour, if it happens, obviously, because today they announced about no summer tours this year, so that's been completely cancelled. So hope this should happen next year, hopefully. But yeah, I've just gone with players that I think are going to fit, or are going to be the best players. Tuolangi, then, just that physicality in it that he's going to bring, especially against the box. Their number 10, Pollard, who'd expect to be starting, is pretty physical himself after Clerk as well. can put in a shift, and across the centres, obviously, they got some big boys, and certainly in the forwards. So you need that physicality. So I like the balance that we got so far with Manu, the power, and then maybe Jonathan Davis with the step a little bit more, and then obviously got the wingers who can also add a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there is the argument that having both Davis and Tuilagi together, there's a bit too much directness there, possibly. But I think on the whole, I think it's something that could work, and especially with Manu at 12, he can defend like he did against Ireland in last year's Six Nations from 12, where he was just all over Sexton and Bundiaki that game. If he can get Pollard under pressure and keep knocking him back with the tackles and get his timings right, obviously, because the way that sort of defending, there runs the risk of being caught offside every so often if he get it wrong. But, if he gets it right against, the 10-12 of South Africa, I think he could cause them real problems and really rattle them. So I think, so I think that'll be a good option at 12, definitely. And as I said, Davis alongside him for his defence and experience.
Definitely. So let's move on to the halfbacks now. Once again, we've picked the same. At 10, I've gone with Owen Farrell.
We've not picked the same at 9, though, but carry on.
Oh, yeah. At 9, we've gone differently. But at 10, Owen Farrell in for me. I think that his best position is 10. We've spoken about this before on the podcast about, he plays 12 for England. But personally, for me, he's got to be playing 10. I think that experience is going to come in handy, although I'm a massive fan of the likes of Finn Russell, of Anscombe. I do think against the Springboks that you need that little bit more physicality. I don't think that starting someone such as Finn Russell or Anscombe would really work. Also, you got to think about Anscombe, he's been out for nearly a year now. He'll hopefully have had a season under his belt, hopefully have had a Six Nations under his belt before going on this tour if he gets picked, but he's not played that much rugby. And I think Owen Farrell's kicking game is pretty good as well, and he can offer us that as well. Sometimes he loses his head, which is a concern. We've seen that in the Six Nations where he makes silly decisions, where he kicks the ball out on the full. That game against Scotland, I believe it was. I know the weather was awful, but some of his decision-making was a little bit strange for me. And so, I think he has to start just about. What are your thoughts on Owen Farrell?
Yeah, I would put him in as 10 as well. Obviously, with regards to his ability, I think also I don't think either of us have picked him as our captain here. So we've gone. So we'll. I think he'll relax a bit more, and I think that sometimes does affect him when it comes to being England captain. When the game's not going England's way, he seems to either go missing or he just becomes very erratic and he doesn't lead from the front as much, and I think that's where if he's not captain, I think he could relax a bit more as a 10 because it's an awesome responsibility. You've got to be the 10. You've got to be the 10. You've got to run the show. You've got to be the goal kicker. You've got to be the whole team captain. I mean, that's a lot for any one player to take on, and because you got a lot. Because at number 10, you've got a lot of decisions to make. So I think if he's got one of those burdens off him, he's just running the game from 10. He's like bringing Tuilagi into play to get over the gain line as first receiver. I know that sounds predictable, but I think that's the sensible way to go. And if he's with his kicking game as well, his ability, we see with Saracens very regularly, his ability to go for the corners and put teams on the back foot is something that we think would work well, and he'd do better from 10. He does from 12. So yeah, I think Owen Farrell the obvious choice, providing of course he remembers to tackle properly.
No comment. At the scrum half position, then you've gone with Ben Youngs. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that in a second. I've gone with Thomas Williams. I think he's the form 9 in the UK and Ireland at the minute. I think John Cooney pushes him really close. I think I think that Ben Youngs is past it. Although he improved in this year's Six Nations, I think he's past it. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, this is again another tricky one for me because I went for Cooney on the bench because I thought he could make a good impact player with regards to his quick feed from the base and his running, his ability to find support lines. I think as an impact player off the bench, he'd be a brilliant option. At the starting one, I did have a bit of dubious. I went for experience over someone who's a bit younger than Thomas Williams. Don't get me wrong. I think Thomas Williams is an excellent scrum half. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's still a few areas of his game he needs to work on a little bit with regards to his maturity, I think. I mean, at times like the game against Ireland in the Six Nations, which really stuck out to me, he scored a great try, don't get me wrong, but after that line out, he dropped the ball, and then Ireland went on and scored the try. It's like that just sort of stuck into my mind, and I was thinking, do I want him in the team if he's going to be have those little moments? Whereas Ben Youngs, obviously, could argue he's past his best, and I think fair enough, he probably is a bit, but I think as the Six Nations went on, he got better and better with each game, which kind of surprised me because I thought he was, on the way out, and I think it still might happen. Like, it still might be, you see it with England, Ben Spencer or Dan Robson of Wasp come into the England side and maybe overtake him in the next year or so before the Lions tour. That's very possible. But I think, with regards to his experience, on his day with his box kicking as well, that's going to be key against the box, and also his ability to, link up well with Farrell at 10 and play and ability to control games at 9, which he can do well when his pack are giving him a platform. So I think I've just picked Youngs there, even though I think he's probably his best days are behind him a bit. But that's just what I've gone for. So.
Yeah, I think we also have to think that is Gatland picking this team, and Gatland does like experience. And right. I think he probably will go for Ben Youngs, but if I was picking it, I just think Thomas Williams offers that something a little bit different. He offers that speed, that ability to beat defenders, and he gets into the right positions at the right time to finish tries, which can be really important. But I do understand the argument of the experience, but he'll have another year under his belt. I think he's in front of Gareth Davies at this point for Wales, just about. So he'll get more game time, obviously starting at the Cardiff Blues every week and building his ability up. So, yeah, I can see the argument for Ben Youngs, but I'm definitely sticking with Thomas Williams on this one.
Fair enough. I think, and also I will say with regards to Wales, as we've said before, I do think Thomas Williams is a better passer of the ball than Gareth Davies is. I think he's a bit more solid as well in his overall game. He's maybe not as good of a sniper as Davies is, and not as fast on his feet, but I just think he's a better rugby player where it matters in a modern day scrum half. So, but yeah, I've just gone for Ben Youngs just for experience and sort of keep things interesting here. Okay, definitely. So we're moving on to the front row then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, front row for me, it's a fun three. Obviously, we got two Englishmen and an Irishman. I've gone with Mako. I think he's the best in the world in his position.
Okay.
No questions about it there. Then at hooker, I have gone with Jamie George. Very simple. We spoke about this on the forwards. We don't feel like there's a quality hooker, really, in the British and Irish. I was thinking about Ken Owens is really struggling. Stuart McAnally up in Scotland is not at the level that you'd really expect him to be at. And then over in Ireland, I've completely forgot who the Irish hooker is.
Rob Herring, but Ronan.
Rob Herring, I don't.
Ronan we've got Ronan Kelleher's, I think, an upcoming one, and he'll be a star one day. So.
Exactly. So, but we've got him on the bench. So I think Jamie George really is the only option for me in the hooker position. And then in the number 3 shirt, Tad Furlong comes in, an absolute beast. And, he showed it on the last Lions tour as well that he can certainly play. What about you, mate?
Yeah, I've gone with the same. Again, more or less the same reasons. Jamie George is a rugby player, the standout hooker in the British Isles right now. Still got it in him. I mean, he'll be 31 the time this tour, but I think he's got another few years at high level still in him. I think he's a very good player. Mako, obviously, for his scrummaging, which has improved over the past few years. His work rate as well, which is generally excellent. His tackling, his ability. So, yeah, that was an easy choice at 1. And Tag Furlong at 3, I think he has the ability, as he's shown in the past, to shore up the scrum and to and he knows how to step up to the big games as well. And he'll, obviously, carry, and he'll do the donkey work he's expected to do as well. So, yeah, pretty straightforward front row, I have to say.
Definitely. And, as I said before, there is a lack of quality forwards, I think, at the minute, especially in Wales, but that's definitely another conversation. Let's move on to the locks. In the number 4 shirt, Maro Itoje and Alan Wynne-Jones to do my two. Maro is going to be the best in his position in the world in the next few years. Probably nearly is their absolute powerhouse. Brilliant option in the line-out. Shows that he's comfortable with ball in hand as well, and has become a little bit of a leader for England as well over the last few months. Alan Wynne-Jones then is basically God here in Wales. All bow down and kiss his feet and all that kind of thing. He is just incredible. And I actually think over the past 2 or 3 years, he's actually got better with age.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he just seems to be everywhere all the time. You know, if something's happening at a breakdown, he's there. And I think that's the big difference between having a captain who's a forward and a back. I think it can work if you're a back, but I just think it's that bit better if they're a forward because they're right at the heart of the action. You know, we've had conversations about Stuart Hogg being Scotland captain, and the fact that he's not there in the middle of the action. He might be 40 metres away from the incident, but Alan Wynne-Jones just seems to constantly be there, talks to the ref in a good way, and his experience of being a tour captain when they've won it, you know, it is massive, and that's why I've gone for them too.
Yeah, and with Alan Wynne-Jones, I think, as I said, we've both said our praises of him. Can't say it enough. He'll be going into the tour, 35 years old. The most capped Lion he will be as well if he goes and plays in the tests. I think he overtook Willie John McBride in the last tour, or he's equal Willie John. Someone needs to correct me there on that one. But I think he's going in a similar age to what Willie John McBride was in 1974 Lions to South Africa. And I think it would just be, whether he goes to the next World Cup or not, we don't know. That's still a few years away. Wayne Pivac hasn't ruled it out. But if it is his swan song going to the Lions in South Africa and winning that tour, that would be, I think, brilliant for him. And I wouldn't argue at all. He'd absolutely deserve it. And it'll be his 4th tour? Yeah, his 4th tour. So I think as long as he's fit, he'll definitely be going. And yeah, he's definitely got better with age as well. He seems to be getting fitter as well all the time, which is, you normally expect it around the ages as the players to just like start going down a bit in that regard. But he still seems to get around very well, the pitch very well for 34-year-olds, going on 35 later in the year, and he'll be 35 in this tour. And Maro Itoje, the other obvious choice. You've got 2 locks there who are both big gruffies, will be absolutely all over the South African pack, because you know the South African pack are going to be very physical. They're going to be in your face, and you've got 2 locks there who can really stand up to that physicality, as well as give it back to them a bit, as well in that regard. And at times, like Itoje, this is the part I hate about him, that he is not afraid to get a bit dirty and to be a bit of a dick to the opposition, which is not something I ever condone. But understanding the game, as long as like is within the laws and the gamesmanship kind of thing, sort of I think that it can sometimes play in your favour. And just as well as the work he does around the pitch as well, and what a quality player he is. So I think that's the obvious choices of the second row pairing there, and the same as what finished the last Lions tour. So Itoje and Alman.
I'm just going to grab my charger to plug it in before it dies.
Okay.
It's literally just here though. I do not want this dying halfway.
This, folks, is why I have my charger on throughout the podcast.
I didn't realise how low it was. I thought it was fully charged, but there you go. Awesome. We're back on. There we go. Okay. All right, so we've done locks. Okay, let's move on now. In the number 6 shirt for me is very simple, Underhill. I think he has been incredible over the past few years over the past 2 years for England, actually. But you've gone with someone different.
You've gone for Underhill at 6, not 7.
I can't read. I put Curry at 6 and I put Underhill at 7. So I apologise.
Okay. All right, we're both in agreement with Curry at 6 then. So, Tom, we could say Curry at 6. Tom Curry at 6, I think, proved at the World Cup. He's right now the best player in the world in that position. Absolute live right around the field, very athletic, good in the loose, does his job in the tight. I'm not convinced with him as a number 8 yet, even though he's still Eddie Jones's project player there. Whether he'll stay there when Billy Vunipola fit again, probably not. But I think he's definitely far more effective at 6 and does a lot. Yeah, does a lot there. So I think it's an obvious choice with him at 6. And you went with Underhill at 7. I've gone for Hamish Watson.
No surprise. Go on, explain.
Well, I think I'm just going to compare the two first. I think with Sam Underhill, obviously he's brilliant at what he does. He gets around the pitch, he tackles hard. But I think with the ball, Hamish Watson would offer something a bit different. And against South Africa, it seems very easy just to go sort of physical for physical, because they've got big bashers in their pack anyway, especially their back row when you've got like Khaleesi and Detroit and Vermeulen, who I'm expecting all 3 to be there at the Lions tour, fit obviously injury depending, and you've got players like the back row is kind of like Underhill's kind of like for likens to those back rowers in a lot of ways, and that he's very physical. I think Hamish Watson gives something a bit different because with the ball in hand, he can be very nifty. He can be a lot trickier to bring down. He doesn't just do the big brunting and carrying up. He's likes going dodging and ducking around players. He has a good step on him as well. And he'll just he also loves the contact side of the game as well as his tackling. And at the breakdown, I think he can be very instead of like some Underhill who's a bit bigger, he basically has to get up and it's a bit slower in getting up, whereas Watson can sometimes make it off. Is better, I think, at making a tackle and then because he's a bit lighter, very quickly getting onto his feet and then getting over the ball. And on his day, he's really strong over the ball, one of the best in the world at it. So I would definitely just give the edge to Watson because of I think he'd give South Africa a bit of a different look from the back row to Underhill. So that's my reasons.
Do you think he'd be physical enough to deal with the South Africans in a sense, strong enough? You think so?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I know he's a bit small, a bit lighter, but he just absolutely loves contact. He loves going in and tackling players twice the size of him. He's not afraid to get involved. I mean, I think also it would be a good balance if you've got likes of him. Maybe if he's making the tackles, he's not always knocking them backwards as much, especially the bigger guys, like the taller guys like Etzebeth and that. Maybe have to take him down his legs, but if he's got players around him like Alan Wynne, like Itoje, like Curry, for example, so they'd have a lot of help in just absolutely smashing them back when needed. So, and sometimes he doesn't always have that with Scotland. I mean, because I think he's got decent players around him, but they're not players that are seriously 100% of the time just absolutely smashing the opponents backwards. And I think with the Lions, he'd have the team we picked, he'd have a lot better chance of that. So that's where I think he'd be absolutely fine with the physical side of it, as far as I'm concerned.
I think there are 2 Welshmen that we have to consider. I think Justin Tipuric deserves a mention, but I don't think he's been at the level that is required for the past year or so. Although on his day, he can be incredible in the loose. When Wales beat England 30 points to 3, he was insane. That was one of the best games I've seen him play.
Long time ago now, though, man.
It was a long time ago, exactly. But I still think he's a quality player.
Yeah.
And I do think Gatland will pick him because Gatland likes him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if he goes. I think a mention for someone, Aaron Wainwright, he's come on leaps and bounds over the past couple of years, was probably our best player last Six Nations maybe, just really came through, made a massive difference for us. Not last Six Nations, not Six Nations 2020, 2019, sorry. 2020 he got a really unfair rap, I felt, from Pivac, but he's real quality, and Gatland came out and said that he could be a surprise inclusion in this team. So yeah, he's really exciting player coming through, but don't quite think he's ready to start in the Lions as such. I actually don't have him on the bench, but definitely a squad player to take over to South Africa for me.
Yeah, I think Curry's just ahead of him, and I haven't even taken Tipuric on my tour. Nothing that much against him, just slightly missed out through being unlucky. Anyway, on to number 8. We've gone for different choices here. You've gone for your man Toby, or Talupe, as I should say.
Yeah. it's a little bit biased. Don't get me wrong, it is absolutely. But I think this guy is world class. I honestly think he's on his day is one of the best eights in the world. It was between him and Billy for me. Billy Vunipola offers that massive physicality, you know, like he'll come off the back of the scrum, he'll smash through defence, he'll smash through Faf de Klerk, but then he'll get taken down. And what else does he really offer? That was my thought behind that one. Faletau for me, though, has everything. He's got that physicality. He's comfortable with the ball in hand. The only question mark he got is his injury record. You know, can he keep himself fit for a full season and then go off the back of the Six Nations, playing for Bath for a full season and going over to the Lions? That would be my only question mark. But on his day, he can be incredible. Obviously, the Six Nations, he was quiet, but I do think that's because of a lack of game time, simply. So if he can have a full season, come back, I think he's the best eight in the world. But you've gone with CJ Stander.
I have, yeah. As I say, with Faletau, I mean, I think we both agree he'd be in the team somewhere, whether it's on the bench or on the starting. But I think, again, a lot of that comes down to if he can keep himself fit, and form, of course, as well a factor. Because if he's not fit and he's not in form, then there's no point. Same with any player. If they're not fit and in form before the tour, then there's no point in them going. But yeah, I went for CJ Stander for the simple reason I thought he was immense in the Six Nations. Ireland's best player before, obviously, coronavirus finished their tournament early. I think he has the ability of a back rower who can certainly carry. He can be effective both in the loose and in the tight, but also his ability over the ball is something which I think makes him a little bit different to the other number 8 options. Of course, he can play at 6 as well, but I think as a number 8, he could have that ability to be very effective at the number 8 stuff with regards to ball carrying and taking it off the back of the scrum, and with the positional sense in defence, but also his ability over the ball as well, which was outstanding in the Six Nations. I think he's got that down to a T, and that, to me, gives him the edge over the other number 8s we've picked. So I'd go for him starting. And, of course, because he's from South Africa as well, he knows the roots there. He knows what it takes to win down there, and what the lifestyle is as well. However relevant that may be. And so, yeah, I think I'd definitely I'd go for Stander at 8. So
yeah, I think that's a big thing to consider. One thing that's going to be massive, and we've spoken about the tour, I think in 2009 when they were there last, was about the heat, the conditions, playing at altitude. Some of the stadiums are quite high up. That can be really tough. So CJ Stander, coming from South Africa, maybe understands that a little bit more. Let's move on to the bench then. We've got 3 props each on the bench. All of them are the same.
Two props. 2 props and 1 hooker.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
But all the same. So first of all, Ronan Kelleher, I think he's really shown that he's a promising player. Not quite ready to start in this team, but easily in there for me. Next up is Ellis Gench, who does not give a fuck about anything. And we love to see that. We actually do. I absolutely love it. And people came out criticising him after that interview he did with a beer in his hand. Who gives a crap? Like, it doesn't matter. And then the other one is Sinclair. The only reason he's not starting for me is because of his temperament. He sometimes loses control, and someone like Faf de Klerk would absolutely love that. Would absolutely love it. That he would wind him up all day, and I just don't think you can take that risk with Sinclair.
Well, that's the thing. It depends how sort of if he's going to take that. Pardon me. If you're going to take that risk, then I don't know, having him in the squad's the best idea. But I personally would pick. I picked the same front row as you did. Because I think mainly because Ronan Kelleher, I think, is a very explosive hooker. And he's got ability to come off and make an impact. Same with all 3 front rowers. I mean, they're obviously all very good in the scrums, but they can also be very effective in the loose, and their live wires and their carrying can be very explosive and effective, especially Kyle Sinclair. That's why I think, you have to have him off the bench, and it could work similarly to the last tour where you have Furlong starting and then Sinclair comes on later on. So I think that's going to be a factor there, and I think that's where Sinclair just has the edge and would go as the reserve tight head prop. And Gen just again can be very explosive, as I said, and I've already said Kelleher, so yeah, that's reasons for picking them.
Next up, I've picked someone very interesting. I've gone with Jake Ball, and I know you question my decision on this. You've gone with Ian Henderson. I first of all will put my case forward. Jake Ball for me, right? I absolutely love this guy, and it's not being biased. I think that his ability. It is a little bit biased, but we all are. We say we're not, but we
get
all
on the
are.
Comments, lads and lassies.
The thing is,
that biased Welshman.
We all are biased. I don't care what people say. We are all biased in some ways. Jake Ball for me.
He's trying to defend himself now with those things. Oh, carry on.
All right. Well, we'll talk about Hamish Watson later a bit more.
Okay.
But,
I've got a good argument, but carry on listening.
Okay. Jake Ball for me is I think one, he can come off the bench and help Alan Wynne-Jones. They have that connection. They have that understanding with each other. He's physical. He can certainly get over the gain line. A brilliant option in the line-out. It was really close between him, actually, and Courtney Laws. I was really close to picking Courtney Laws because I think both of them are extremely physical. And against South Africans, in the last 20 minutes or so, to come on and have an impact, maybe you need that physicality. Absolutely, I think your choice in Ian Henderson is a brilliant choice, but I just about think Jake Ball pips this one for me.
Okay, well, one is entitled to one's opinion, but I'm going for Henderson because I think he is an absolutely brilliant rugby player, great second row, very underrated by the masses. I think the work he does is just outstanding, an excellent line-out option as well. And he would, coming off the bench, I think either whether it's for Alan Wynne or for Atoje, he would do an excellent job, I think. And I'm just coming on and keeping the ship steady in the second row, as well as like I said, his work rate around the pitch with his tackling and his carrying, I think would work well. So it was quite an easy one for me because I think Ian Henderson, I think he's very underrated. So I've gone with him. I know there will be a lot of Irish folk upset that James Ryan isn't even in this 23, but there you go. It's that's exactly what we're going for.
The position on the bench for number 8 replacement, I was really struggling with. I did go with Billy Vunipola, but I was struggling because I was trying to find someone who would offer something different when coming onto the pitch. I don't just want a ball-carrying monster coming on. And I was struggling because I think Moriarty does that. Vunipola does that. Faletau's already starting. I did end up going with Billy Vunipola though. You went with Faletau on the bench. Do you want to give your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, basically as a rugby player, same as yourself. Like I think you have to have him in the 23, and late on I think he could give something different in the back row, especially at number 8. It's possible you could have and you could keep CJ Stander on to do the work he does, the more physical side, because he can play in the back, anywhere in the back row, and you could bring Faletau on, put him in 8. And just as well as like his carrying, he gives a bit of different options. He's a bit more athletic, a bit lankier, and he gives defenders different looks. So I think that's where sort of he has to. And he's got great skills with his hands as well, of course. So I think that's where you have to have him in the 23, so that's why I've gone for Faletau on the bench, yeah.
Definitely. Moving on to the scrum half options, we both agreed on John Cooney, probably the form scrum half in, you could even say in the world at the minute. For Ulster, been incredible when he came off the bench for Ireland. Straight away, you noticed the difference he was making, kicking into the right places, sped the game up a lot, and was very different to what Conor Murray offers. We haven't even picked Conor Murray at all in this team. John Cooney, for me, definitely deserves option on the bench. The only concern I would have is if Thomas Williams is starting, is he a really similar player to Thomas Williams coming on with that speed and everything like that? You could put that into question. That's maybe why Ben Youngs is a good idea to start with. But for me, Cooney is the form player. You've got to go on form. And I think that he will take that number 9 shirt off Conor Murray over the next 12 months. I think he'll make that his own.
Yeah, the way he's going, if he keeps I mean, obviously, this is providing after the pandemic's over and rugby's back on track. He keeps that form again, because again, this is all like, players can go in and out of form, so it'll be different then. But no, right now, yeah, you have to say Cooney has to be in the 23. I think a very effective option to bring off the bench, especially late on if it's a tight game. I mean, his ability to speed the game up and to put oppositions on the back foot, and also his ability to see something if there's a chance out wide. He seems to have that ability both with Ulster and with Ireland to spot it, and then he sort of starts the attack. They ship it out wide, makes them ground on the outside, and he is up there as fast as he can, supporting that line, and he's not afraid to get himself in there, make himself an option, which from an Ireland point of view is something Conor Murray has not been doing for a while. So, and Cooney, which Cooney has certainly been doing, and that's why I think he's Ireland's best scrum half right now, and he's just got that ability as well, like to make his presence known to the opposition, and he can actually also snipe very well as well, and that's where he puts the South Africans, can put the South Africans under stress, because you're not entirely sure what he's going to do, especially if the Lions pack can get front foot ball, and that would really be sort of where Cooney would be at his best, of course, like most scrum halves. So I think I think it's an obvious option. He would be an excellent impact player. Same with the guy we've gone for as our reserve outside half.
Yeah, Finn Russell, the Maverick. Him coming off the bench would terrify those poor South African props, I think. I think they'll be thinking, we've had 60 minutes of this, and now we've got this coming on. I just think he offers something so different, and when players are tired, he sees the opportunity. You've seen the ridiculous things he's been doing at Racing and also for Scotland. Obviously, he hasn't been in the Scotland camp this Six Nations, but we won't get into that too much. He's just a quality player, isn't he? Yeah. And on his day, is one of the best fly halves in the world at opening up defences. Some of the passes that he threw against England a couple of years ago were just outrageous. The cheek to try it, but they were incredible. I wouldn't start him, because I do think at the start of the game, you need that physical presence just to win your ball, get over the gain line, put your dominance on. But then later on in the game, I think coming off the bench is a fantastic option if the game's a little bit tight.
Yeah, and I think actually that would work really well if you could bring him on, but keep on Farrell on and move him into 12 or 13. Because, I mean, I think like the likes of Manu and Davis, they'll be putting in a lot of tackles and like maybe carrying and doing a lot of kick chases, especially like with the game plan we seem to be talking about. They'll be doing a lot of chasing and a lot of tackling and like a lot of running. So I mean, I think one of them would start to tire a bit, especially like with how big they are. One of them start to tire a bit more in the second half. So you bring him on. Finn Russell would definitely give a different option. Move Farrell out to 12 and can spread the ball and hopefully run the South Africans around a bit more. Which would be, so I think that would be sort of that would be quite an exciting thought, actually, having Russell at 10 and Farrell at 12 like as the impact like 10-12 combination.
Again, a couple of honourable mentions to likes of Anscombe, who for me just isn't quite at the level of Finn Russell, but has the potential to really have the ability to open defences. Johnny Sexton for me is past it now. I just don't think he's at the level of these guys anymore.
Yeah, he's not in either of our squads, so...
No, not at all. But yeah, he's probably... Well, we probably should say something so the Irish don't start crying. Is there anyone else we should mention? Bigger? Dan Bigger?
No.
Not a fan of Dan Bigger? I know you hate Dan Bigger.
No. That's it. I've got nothing more to say on him. Just no.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest fan of Dan Bigger, Kyle. I know you hate him, but on the pitch, he is a good player. He is a good player on the pitch, but I just think that Farrell is a brilliant starter. And then, as you said, that idea of putting Farrell at centre late on and Finn coming on, I think is really exciting. I just don't think you need to mess with that idea at all.
Well, the thing is, because it's Gatland, I wouldn't expect him to go with that, but because he's a coach that likes players very on script, so I wouldn't expect it. It's a nice thought, but I wouldn't. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see where we are next year, but I'm not expecting that to happen. I'd like it to, though.
Yeah. And our final player on the bench, our full-back or back three option, both of us have gone for Liam Williams. Very close to starting for me, but I just think Hogg is a little bit ahead of him. But Liam Williams showed over the years that he's very capable of beating defenders, scoring tries, moved back to the Scarlets now, which is fantastic for them. What are your thoughts on Liam Williams?
Yeah, I think just like I said, this has really come down to the fullback berth for me. Like, you know, it's like Liam Williams just a little bit behind Hogg for me as well. So I would put, but I mean, he showed like if he's fit and on his day. I mean, the 2017 tour in New Zealand, he was absolutely outstanding. Can't argue with that. So I think to have him in the team again would be fine. Like I'd have him on the bench, but I mean, he has obviously there's the option there to bring him on either at the wing or at fullback. So and he can sort of do the role we were discussing that if you picked Anthony Watson on the wing could do if he came on and played the winger role, the sort of winger fullback, and he'd be very good under the high ball as well as doing the stuff that a winger needs to do overall as well. So I think I think a very easy choice in my opinion to have as the outside back replacement, Liam Williams. So.
Definitely. I think those are two quite strong squads, obviously very, very similar. As always, get your team in the comments down below. Anything else to add, Kyle?
One thing, like, you know, obviously, as we know with the coach of this team, we're just selecting if we were coaches, but we know it's going to be Gatland. Who do you think his support team will be? I
would like him to take Sean Edwards, but whether he can get him out of France is another question.
I don't see that happening.
No. He won't take Pivac, obviously. He won't take Stephen Jones. Probably will get Rob Howley involved if he's allowed to after his betting breaches. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Ian McGeechan is there once again. He's always seems to be there. Maybe someone like Graham Roundtree as well would be someone that he would look at. There's a few names there. Yeah,
I think Geach is done with the coaching side of things. So if he does go on the tour, it will just be as an advisor of sorts. If he does go, of course. I think the obvious choices I think will be going like they did in the last two tours. I think Graham Roundtree, who's now working at Munster, I think he'll go as the scrum coach. I think Andy Farrell will go as the defence coach. The backs coach, I don't know if he'll go with Howley. I'd like to say he might give Gregor Townsend a go, but I don't know. Like, you know,
really?
I don't know. It would just be nice to see a Scot there somewhere, someone working with the Scots team there. If you can get, I mean, I know a few of my podcasts the other day were talking if they can get John Mitchell in, but I'm not sure if Gatland will go for him. I'm not. I mean, it would be a good shout if he did, but I'm not sure if he will. So I think he'll go with Farrell and Roundtree and scrums. I think he might actually take Matt Proudfoot, who's working with the England forwards. I think he'll be the forwards coach on the tour because he's shown what a great job he did with the Box at the World Cup, what a great job he did with England in the Six Nations. Their pack just got better as the tournament went on. So I think he seems an obvious choice to go as the forwards coach this time. And as the backs coach, I think he might go Rob Howley or Stephen Jones, but I would like to see him go for Gregor or Scott somewhere. And
I just think that Gatland is the type of guy who he goes with what's worked for him in the past, you know, tried and tested and all that kind of thing. So I can't see that many changes to the coaching team. He likes knowing who he's got, knowing what he's working with. He's worked with them before, so he knows how they work, and they know how he works. But it'd be interesting. I wouldn't put Gregor Townsend in there. I just wouldn't. I think it's I think it's a very different dynamic from being a head coach to suddenly being an assistant coach. I think it's a very different dynamic, and I don't know whether that's the right thing for Gregor or for Andy Farrell, to be honest. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I think Gatland will be a lot more reserved than the team we've picked, than who we would obviously want to be playing. He's going to go with tried and tested, unfortunately. But I do think he probably is the best guy for the job at the minute.
Well, his track record proves it. I know there's a lot of debate about especially from Irish folk and Scots as well. On a personal level, we absolutely hate him from the last tour. Didn't pick a Scot in any of the tests, which still emotionally.
But what happened in the tour?
Oh, well, he got series drawn, but anyway, in the personal front, that obviously griped me a bit. But I mean, that's just personal feelings there. But no, I mean the whole geographical six thing. Then I mean, and then in the 2013 tour, he picked players on geographical merit as well to replacements. Brought in Tom Court, who happened to be on holiday in Brisbane at the time, and just chucked him into the squad for midweek game, and then Shane Williams.
Shane Williams. Shane Williams playing out in Japan, wasn't he?
Yeah, Shane Williams. He just came in, played one game, and then went away again. So, I mean, they still won the tour, but I'm just like, I mean, I understand the argument, and I'm a bit personally in favour of. Would like to see this. To just let my head rule my heart here, with regards to actually wanting to see the lines being picked based on who is the best available and who's in the best form from the British Islands to go and play. And it just kind of like, with the stuff I was talking about, it just seemed to be a convenience picks more than anything, based on where they were geographically or who was nearest the phone at the time. It wasn't really a merit who he picked in those tours and those games. But I mean, again, like, am I to argue too much, I suppose, because in the end, like, they beat Australia, they drew in New Zealand, so they got it right. And clearly in the short tour, Gatlin knows how to get it done, but also that like kind of special uniqueness of wearing a Lions jersey, even if you're just playing in the midweek games. I understand why a lot of people feel that's kind of gone when stuff like that, the geographical six and Shane Williams and Tom Court has happened.
Oh, there's only one more thing to decide. It's our captain for this one. I think it's pretty obvious for both of us.
We're going for our tour captain, aren't we? Mr. Alan Wynne, the obvious choice.
Yeah, Alan Wynne is the obvious choice. I think that's pretty much everything. That's our team. As I said before, comment your team down below and any thoughts on this podcast. And we'll do another podcast very soon. Yeah,
that's. Sounds good, man. Really enjoyed this one. Good to get our teams out there. And obviously, guys, you got any comments, feel free to leave them below. As positively or as negatively or as neutrally as you like.
Well, yeah, I wanted to... Are you up for doing a podcast next week on rugby refereeing at some point?
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that.
All right, cool. We'll do that next week at some point.
Okay.
But yeah, awesome. I'll catch you at some point, mate.
Just need to stop recording first.
All right.
Okay. Catch you later, guys.